Divine Abode. So I've put together Karajakaya Brahmavihara Sutta, the Deed-born Body Discourse on the Divine Abodes. Or you can also simplify this. This is in the book of tens. You can call it the Dasaka Brahmavihara Sutta, the tens discourse, 1 to 10, the tens discourse on the Divine Abodes. A10.208. Now you can see the A:B, and this is in Bhikkhu Bodhi's numbering. B actually refers to the Burmese edition. In the Burmese edition, which Bodhi sometimes uses, you have 10.219. So the numbers sometimes vary because it's the way the suttas are divided according to different traditions. Then you have the different titles. There's also a Chinese version, the Chinese Agama, MA is Madhyama Agama, the Chinese version of the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 15. Then you have the T number. This T is a Japanese compilation of the Chinese Tipitaka, Taisho Daizokyo. So these Chinese versions, they are in the first two volumes of the 100 volumes of the Taisho Tipitaka. So the first two volumes are very ancient, okay, very close to the Pali text. So very often the scholars will compare the Pali Nikayas and the Agama Suttas, kind of help each other. So today's sutta, the theme is how loving kindness limits karma, and we can cultivate divinity within ourselves. Okay, all right. Now let us go on to the page 77, the sutta itself, the translation. Now this sutta is one of the most difficult that I have translated for various reasons. One reason is that apparently a big chunk of this sutta was missing. But scholars, we have very good scholars who are able to do some detective work and say, oh, probably by comparing texts, they say, oh, okay, the missing part should come from another sutta. So normally there's always something there you can go through other suttas and you can do some detective work and you say, okay, here's the missing part. And we can also look up in the Chinese version and compare. Very often we might get some clues that the Chinese version have their own problems, difficulty in translations. You can imagine how difficult it is to use the Chinese language to translate Indian concepts. This is itself really amazing feat which the Chinese did with the coming of Buddhism. But there are also problems. For example, there is the attitude of the Chinese towards their language. To them, the word is quite real. Whereas to the Buddhists in India, words are just tools to convey an idea. And you find in the early Buddhist texts, the Pali texts, there are no technical terms. What we understand as technical terms, meaning they're fixed meaning. This is one of the kind of nightmares, if you like, for people who think that one word has only one meaning. There's no such thing in the Pali text. One word may have a few meanings, and sometimes the couple of meanings apply at the same time because we're talking about the awakened mind. So this is where we learn to let go of views when you study the suttas. If you really want to appreciate the suttas, you don't try to fix the sutta into those little holes that you have shaped. You look at the sutta as it is to understand it. So this is what I tried to do with this sutta. You find that this translation is a new one. It's different from the previous one, in fact, and it's very different from other translations that you can find. Look at verse 1. So you notice there's no Ewang Me Sutang here. It starts right away with the Buddha addressing the monks. This is quite a common feature in the Anguttara, because normally it comes in this chapter and the Ewang Me Sutang starts right at the start of the chapter. So this is kind of quite late in the chapter. If you look at the number, it is A10.208. In other words, it is Sutta number 208 in the Book of Tens. There are 10 items in the Sutta. Okay, so square brackets 299, it means page 299 of the Pali text. Bhikshus, I do not say that there is an ending of intentional deeds done and accumulated having experienced them. Okay. Now I've put the word their results, but I'm still thinking about it. We may not need this square brackets actually. I mean, we can remove this part. I will explain why in a moment. Whether right here in the present or in the next life or in a subsequent another life. Okay. When you see the square brackets, it means you can substitute the previous word. Just choose the best one that you can understand best. So here the Buddha is saying, notice here, be careful, because here you have this double negative. The Buddha says, I do not say this. I do not say that there is an ending of karma, if you like, just simplifying one word, intentional deeds, karma. I do not say there is an ending of karma because you have experienced them. All right? Yet, okay, now there's to complicate matters. There's something more to say. It's not finished. It says, yet, Bhikshus, I do not say too that there is the making an end of suffering, having experienced the fruits of intentional deeds done and accumulated. Okay, this took me years to reflect on. Many scholars are themselves not certain of what is meant here. So, and even the commentaries have their own views. Some scholars have done very, what is called, close research. Apparently the Buddha is referring to the views of the Jains. The Jains believe that karma is something you must face it all. It's part of your body is your karma, in fact. This karma, they're like encrustation. That's why we have a body, because they are encrustations. They form your body, so you have to clear away this body, so to speak. So they believe that if you practice sense of strain and eat less and do less, and if you should die in the process, you're free from your karma. So the Buddha said, no, I don't say that. Okay? So this is roughly the meaning of the first one. Then they also have this view that whatever karma you have done in the past, you must face the result. Now this is quite a tricky statement. We have done so many deeds, and how do you measure deeds, you know? There's no such thing as a deed meter, you know. How do you measure 1, 2 actions? There's a flow of actions. So these Jains believe that you must pay back all this karma before you can be free from suffering, or you can awaken in their own way. So the Buddha said, 1.2, I do not say this. I do not say that there's a making an end of suffering, that you can end suffering because you have experienced all of it. So one way to understand this two statement, the Buddha is saying he does not accept the way the Jains teach karma, in other words. So what did the Buddha teach? What does the Buddha teach? To simplify this early point, let me at this point say, it's not the ending of karma that brings awakening. Not really. Of course, you can, in manner of speaking, say karma has ended, but that's more the result, because you can't end karma. You can't really end karma. Karma is more like, what shall we say, the product that you give is a result of your body, speech, and mind, your 3 doors of action. And where does all this action come from? They come from from intention. Where does intention come from? From ignorance, from defilements. So according to the Buddha, it's not karma that you should remove. It's the intention. It is the defilement that you must clear away. And once the defilements are cleared away, the karma stops. So karma are the symptoms, if you like. So the Buddha is giving a radical cure if you like, all right, you talk in medical terms, while the Jains are talking about symptomatic cure. It may work in medicine, but in religion it's a bit tricky. The Buddha is talking about the radical cure. How do we go down to the roots and remove the roots of suffering? We must remove the defilements. So how do we do this? Okay, this is what the sutta is about in a way. So now, if you look at the next section, there's a line, a vertical line on the left. So this is the missing section, which I've taken from the parallel in the Chinese version. And it's also found in the Sanchetanika Sutta 1, 810.206. So this is like one or two suttas before this. So you have this connection. The missing part is put back here. So here, in this part, the Buddha talks about the three kinds of unwholesome karma, three unwholesome causes of conduct, akusala, karma, pata. What are this karma, the causes of suffering? 1.3. Therein, Bhikshus, in this connection, threefold are the defiling faults of bodily action. There are three kinds of karma, with negative karma that arises through our bodily action. Notice the word defiling faults. So it's the defilement here that brings us suffering. So these three actions, due to unwholesome volition, with painful outcome, painful results. And then later we find out what these three are. Some of you already know, but let's just keep it that way for a while. So three kinds of unwholesome karma of the body. Number 2, fourfold are the defiling faults of verbal action due to unwholesome volition, with painful outcome, painful results. 4 kinds of speech action, which are negative, bad karma. Bad karmic speech, if you like. And 3/4 are the defiling faults of mental action due to unwholesome volition, with painful outcome, painful results. 3 kinds of mental action. So you have 3, 4, 3. That's how you get the 10 unwholesome karmic causes, or unwholesome causes of karma, if you like. Now, in the next section, the Buddha explains what these 3, 4, 3 are. So 1.4, unwholesome bodily action. If you look at this, you say, oh, I know this. These are the first 3 precepts, right? First, panatipata, adinadana, kamesu miccachara. The first 3 precepts, they are broken through bodily action. They are actions of the body. So I've put the heading for you to help you have a good idea to start with. Unwholesome bodily action. And how bhikshus are the defiling faults of bodily action due to unwholesome volition with painful outcome, painful results. 3/4. Here bhikshus, a certain person harms living beings, cruel, bloody-handed, given to violence and killing, merciless to living beings, right? So here the Buddha defines the kind of mind that kills living beings. It's very clear here, okay, living beings. Of course, just to be a bit more clear, early Buddhism defines living being as beings with a mental process, okay? So plants are not included here. But even then, the Buddha forbids monks from destroying plants, so that there's respect for plants also. But that is for a different reason, because but here we're talking about respecting life, because life is precious to all beings. 2, here again, he takes what is not given in a forest, in a village or in a forest. He takes by way of theft the possessions of others that are of service to them. Taking the not given. Adinna. Dinna means what is given. Adinna, what is not given. Then you add adana. Adana is taking away. Notice these things can be stolen not just from a village but also in a forest. For example, a monk in the forest wouldn't even pluck a fruit. He may, of course, if the fruit has fallen and he knows that there are no owners, he may pick it. But even then, if the monk's not sure, he wouldn't pick it, because it's quite a serious offense to pick something, a fruit, and then later to find out, wow, it belongs to someone. Because if a monk picks something that's worth as little as 5 cents, Karaja is committed. In other words, he falls in the state of a monk. He disregarded as stealing already, taking something that doesn't belong, minimum worth about 5 cents. So can you imagine how serious the precepts are? So even in the forest, not supposed to do that. Okay. Now then, the third precept. Here again, he commits sexual misconduct, falling into such conduct with those protected by their mother, protected by their father, or protected by their parents, protected by their brother, protected by their sister, protected by relatives. So in other words, they're still a minor under protection of the family. One with a husband, so someone's married. One protected by the clan. Sometimes maybe this child is special, or maybe it is an orphan, so it's taken care by the clan, the gotra. Protected by law, the ward of the state, for example. Even when adorned with a string of garlands, so this is when the woman is betrothed, in other words, engaged to someone. So basically, this is to respect family. Okay. So here it's very clear that the idea of this precept is to make sure humans behave as humans, and there is this ability to trace connections, relationships, so that there is some kind of moral order in human society. And of course, there are lots of consequences of irresponsible sexual act. This is studied given in greater detail in, for example, the Sigālovāda Sutta, which is already listed in next year's in the list I'm going to submit to SKA for next year's study. The Sigālovāda Sutta, which give us all the lots of precepts, not a bit outside the 5 precepts. So here you are. These are the 3 precepts dealing with the body. Okay. Now the next section, 1.4, we have 4 precepts, or the 4 negative karma done through speech, and how bhikshus are the defiling faults of verbal action due to unwholesome volition with painful outcome, with painful results. 4-fold. So here running number, just now we are 1, 2, 3, now it's 4, 5, 6, 7, there are 4 of them here. Here bhikshus, a certain person speaks falsehood, right? Lying, musavada. Then the sutta defines. Okay, so if you're wondering where did the Buddha define musavada, here it is. When questioned as a witness before a council, before a congregation, in the midst of relatives, in the midst of a guild or company, in the midst of a royal court or court of law, and questioned thus, "Sir, tell us what you know." Not knowing, he says he knows. Or knowing, he says he knows not. Having not seen, he says he saw. And having seen, he says he did not see. Right, so bearing false witness, for example. Okay? Consciously lying, thus for his own sake, for the sake of others, or for some small material gain, some bribe, something, right? So there you are. It's very clear. Lying, how it's defined, why it is wrong. Okay. Now, just a quick thought here, right? Of course, I know in some of your mind thoughts will be racing and say, "Wow, okay, well, what if this, what if that?" Right? There are lots of difficulties we have to deal with. That only shows how important the moral precepts are. Okay, so perhaps in one of these coming talks we will focus on these precepts, and then discuss some of these very tricky issues. But today we'll kind of go through all this first. 5. Here again he speaks divisive words, slanderous words. Okay, what he has heard here from others, he repeats it there to others to divide them. So in Malay we say batu api. You carry batu api in English is firestone. Okay, it means spreading rumors from one side to the other side and breaking up people, breaking up unity. What he has said there, he repeats it here to divide them. Thus he divides the united, who encourages the divided to remain so, rejoicing in division, being pleased at discord, enjoying discord, delighting in discord, saying words conducive to discord. Not a very nice person, right? We don't want such a person in our midst. So this is divisive words. Notice this is not one of the precepts, because it is not so often we get this kind of situation, but it is a very nasty kind of speech. So it's included in the under falsehood when it comes to the precepts, right? But here, in the list of the 10 negative karma, they are listed in full. The 4 kinds of wrong speech. So it is number 2. Now the next one, 6, which is the third bad speech, wrong speech. Here again he speaks harsh words. He utters words that are rough, hard, hurting to others, offensive to others, ever angry, inconducive to mental concentration. Now this last phrase is very important. Why do we speak gently? Because it helps us in meditation, right? Harsh words don't help. So there's a hint already here. Keeping the precepts well helps us in our meditation, right? So this is harsh speech. Then number 7, here again he chatters frivolously, frivolous talk, useless talk. At the wrong time, he speaks what is false, what is unbeneficial. So here, he doesn't say that at the right time you can tell lies. No, he's saying that we speak at the wrong time and we speak what is false and not helpful. Sometimes speaking the right thing at the wrong time is also problematic. So this is why monks are often very careful not to teach at the wrong time. There are rules in the Vinaya reminding the monks not to teach at the wrong time. For example, not to teach Dharma to someone who is driving a car, for example, so that he will not be distracted while he's driving. Okay, so there's quite some rules which are quite tricky sometimes. Then, and other examples of frivolous chatter. What is not the teaching? What is not Dharma? Right? What is not the discipline? Okay. If you have a Buddhist Facebook, you'll be quite concerned. You say, okay, I don't think I want things which are not Buddhist, right? So we have to. That's one way to prevent trolls. One way to prevent any quarrels. To focus on the Dharma. So not to talk what is not the teaching, what's not the Dharma, what is not the Vinaya, especially when there are monks. So and not worth treasuring, not worth preserving. Right? Sometimes people say things you find it's better not to remember them, not very helpful. He speaks words that are untimely, out of place, baseless, undefined. In other words, rambling, not clear, not connected with the goal, the spiritual goal, that is, not connected with becoming a better person in the Buddhist way. Okay, so thus Bhikshus are the defiling faults of verbal action due to unwholesome volition with painful outcome, painful results. 4-4, right? Now the third section. There are 3 kinds of wrong mental action, unwholesome mental action. And our Bhikshus are the defiling faults of mental action due to unwholesome volition with painful outcome, painful results. 3-4. Here Bhikshus, a certain person is covetous, wanting something which belongs to others. He covets the possessions of others that are of service to them, thinking, oh, may what belongs to others become mine. Right? You see a lot of this in big business. I want that company, or I want this and that, okay? Here again, number 9, here again is one with a mind of ill will. So this is just the opposite, okay? the first one, number 8, is greed, desire. Here is you can't get it, so you hate it, you don't like it. It's ill will. A mind of wicked thoughts, thinking, may these beings be killed or slaughtered or wiped out or destroyed or not exist. Now these are just thoughts, by the way. But lately we've been reading in the papers people with very angry thoughts, and they act it out. So the first precept is broken. So speech leads to action. Thoughts lead to action. 10. Here again, he's one with wrong view. Sometimes you can trust the wrong views, if you like. With distorted vision, thinking there's no giving, no offering, no sacrifice. So this is wrong view, meaning there's no good in being kind to others, such as being charitable by giving. There's no fruit or result of good or bad action, no karma. All right? Okay, further down. This world does not exist, the other world does not exist. So it is a materialistic kind of idea. Say, well, there's no such thing. This world is not real. There's no future world. There's no mother, no father, no beings reborn. This idea of no mother, no father is becoming quite real in modern society, and it's quite problematic, where there's a breakdown in relationship, where there's no more respect for others. One of the key reasons for society being stable is that there is this connection. You notice, a generation ago, 2 generations ago, you have this, locally, especially Malaysia, Singapore, we have this extended family where the young couple can work, and then the grandparents will take care of the child. And the grandparents are lonely, and they find it so happy to have these little children to take care of, and they feel very happy to have this meaningful life. Now, Singapore is a good example. You find we have lots of flats, and you find we are like crabs, we're like hermit crabs. So one big house, depending on your wealth, one big house, they have one lonely man staying there, and the children living alone elsewhere with their family and just waiting for this poor old man to die, and then that's it. So they're very lonely. So loneliness is a terrible pain to the old people. So this idea of family relationship is to bring quality life to these old people, lonely people, and we are heading there, all of us. I mean, we're young now, but we're heading in that direction. So if we don't care for each other now, with loving kindness, we're heading that way. So this idea of respecting mother, respecting father, respecting brother, sister relationships is to build up this kind of connection, this kind of rapport that makes our life as humans meaningful. Now the next wrong view is that there are no Brahmins, recluses, here meaning religious people, generally, not any particular religion. There are no Brahmins and recluses who, living rightly and practicing rightly, having directly known and realized for themselves this world and the hereafter, proclaim them. So basically here is that there's no such thing as religious truth. That it's not possible to know anything beyond our present body. Right? So here the Buddha is saying anyone who keeps their mind open, no matter what religion, they will be able to find out something more than just this physical body. And that's where you find people who are really open-minded, no matter what religion, there is this agreement. And you find this teaching mentioned very beautifully and clearly by the Buddha in one of the Majjhima Suttas. No, I think it's the Digha Sutta, Udumbarika Sihanada Sutta, which talks about the ideals of interfaith dialogue. So that again has been listed for next year's study. Okay, so these are the negative aspects, quite dark. The next section is the happy section, wholesome causes of conduct. So these are the 10 happy version of what we have gone through. 1.6. Bhikshus, threefold are the virtues of bodily action, right, and with positive results. Fourfold are the verbal action with positive results. Threefold are the mental actions with positive results. So what are the wholesome bodily action? 1.7. And how bhikshus are the virtues of bodily action due to wholesome volition with pleasurable outcome, pleasurable results? Threefold. Here bhikshus, a certain person, having given up harming living beings, refrains from harming living beings, lays down rod and sword. So I like this kind of rhyming words, rod and sword. Okay. In other words, no more. He doesn't use punishment. He doesn't use violence. Buddhism is against capital punishment. Sword here refers to capital punishment. Rod here represents corporal punishment. Conscientious. We think about our actions. We think about how it affects others. Merciful, forgiving. Dwells beneficial and compassionate to all living beings. We just love being kind to others. So the first precept is not just not killing. That is the positive aspect of it. Second precept. Here again, having given up, taking the not given, in other words, given up stealing, he refrains from taking the not given. In a village or in a forest, he does not take by way of theft the possession of others that are of service to them. Notice in this phrasing, the Buddha also gives us a reason why we should not steal, because people work hard and they need those things that they work for. 3. Here again, having given up sexual misconduct, he refrains from sexual misconduct, not falling into such conduct with those protected by their mother, by their father, and so on. All this has been mentioned earlier. Respecting other people. Now you may wonder, how come the sutta or the Buddha only mentions women here? Why he doesn't mention men? Because society in those days is very patriarchal in India. It's the women who are abused. In fact, even today, women are still abused. This is the sad thing. It is preserved by religion that women are objects of sensuality, they are baby machines. They're not given that respect. The Buddha worked hard to do this, but somehow this message didn't get through to the Indians because Brahmanism, what we call Hinduism today, is still very strong. And so they're still very patriarchal. So you see this guru with a beard and all wrapped up, and nothing is more patriarchal than that. And then their aim is to show men are taking charge, that kind of idea. See, whereas the Buddha went totally against that. The Buddha got the monks to shave all their hair and beard, and even the nuns shaved their hair. So it's sometimes quite difficult to, at a glance, to see who's a monk, who's a nun. So that's, you talk about equality now. That's equality to start with. But of course, more needs to be done. So respect for the person of a person. That is refraining from sexual misconduct. And in this case, even when the wife says no, the husband has to respect. Right? So here, this is another additional rule which is mentioned elsewhere. Sigalovada Sutta, for example. Right? Okay, so these are the 3 wholesome bodily action. Now we go on to the 4 action of speech. Wholesome action of speech. 1.8. And how bhikshus are virtues of verbal action due to wholesome volition with pleasurable outcome, pleasurable results. 4-fold. Here bhikshus, a certain person, having given up speaking falsehood, refrains from speaking falsehood. When questioned as a witness before a council, before a congregation, in the midst of relatives, in the midst of a guild or company, in the midst of the royal court or a court of law, and questioned thus, "Sir, tell us what you know." Not knowing, he says he knows not. And knowing, he says he knows. Having not seen, he says he did not see. Having seen, he says he saw. Not consciously telling a lie, thus for his own sake, for the sake of others, or even for some small material gain. Telling the truth, okay? Of course, just a quick remark here for those who are troubled by saying, "Oh, am I supposed to tell the truth all the time, even if it might affect my parents," for example. Well, not telling the truth, keeping quiet is another matter. Okay, so we can not say certain things, but as I said, all this need to be specifically discussed when it comes to moral action, because moral action is so important. We can't just have a blanket decision for everything. The Buddha doesn't do that. Then we'll blame the Buddha if he does that. Right? The Buddha wants us to think carefully before we act and to be responsible for our karma. Next is against divisive speech. He refrains from divisive speech. What he has heard here from others, he does not repeat over there and kind of go back and forth and break people up and to sow discord, make people quarrel and so on. So look at the last line. He is pleased at concord, enjoying concord, delighting in concord, saying words conducive to concord. So he's that really wonderful kind of person. He's a really great person to have around. And 6 is, here again, giving up harsh speech, he refrains from harsh speech. He utters words that are blameless, pleasant to the ear, touching the heart, urbane, loved by the masses, pleasant to the masses. Okay? So he's going to be a good Dhamma speaker, in other words. So this is someone who not only speaks well, but also he is blameless. He keeps the precepts and so on. Right? Now remember, this is not just being nice. We can be hypocritical. It is something else. Hypocritical sycophancy is mentioned as a vice. Here, the person is actually blameless. Is compassionate. Okay? 7. Here again, giving up useless talk. He refrains from useless talk. Now, I like this part. Okay, this part is really telling us how to really talk usefully. He speaks at the right time. What is true, what is beneficial. Well, right now is the right time, if you like. What is the teaching, what is the discipline, what is the Dhamma, what is the Vinaya. Words worth treasuring. He speaks words that are timely, well-founded, well-defined, in other words, not rambling, connected with the goal of spiritual freedom. Thus, Bhikshus, right? So the Buddha says, okay, these are the karma of words, verbal action that are wholesome. All right. So here the Buddha has given us the nature of karma. He says you should keep your karma good, keep the precepts well. In other words. Now notice after this, what is in the next section? The heading. What does the next heading say? Let's look at the next section, further down. Yeah. Benefits of the Divine Abodes, right? So this is where you have Sila, Samadhi, Panya, right? This is the motto of SKE, right? Sila, moral virtue, we keep our precepts well, then you feel happy keeping the precepts, say, oh, I know I've kept the precepts. Then you go on to meditate. So this is meditation, the benefits of meditation, especially the Divine Abodes. So here the Buddha teaches us how do we practice the Divine Abodes. The Divine Abodes, there are 4. Loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Okay. Number 1, notice is italicized here, so it's the one just to help you to show that's the first Divine Abode, cultivation of loving kindness. But Bhikshus, that noble disciple, okay, look at that. You notice this section has no line on the right, right? So the line on the right just finished just before this. But look at this sentence. It says, but Bhikshus, that noble disciple, but. So that means something is missing. So this is where the previous section has been put in. So the Buddha builds up his teaching from teaching on moral virtue. Now he talks about the Divine Abodes, the Brahmavihara. But here meaning having given up all the, bad karma, not keeping the precepts. We keep the precepts. But Bhikshus, that noble disciple, thus free from covetousness, free from ill will, unconfused, clearly aware, ever mindful, dwells pervading 1 quarter with loving kindness, likewise the 2nd quarter, likewise the 3rd quarter, likewise the 4th quarter, right? So this is what we did towards the end, if you remember, right? We direct our loving kindness by around all the quarters. 1 quarter means say, starting with the front direction. We don't say east, we say front. What's interesting is in early Buddhist nomenclature, in early Buddhism, the front direction is also the east. All right, because there was no compass in ancient India, not like China. So the Indians get up in the morning where they know the sun rises in the east, and that's called Pubba. It's also called the east. All right. So the Buddha would sit facing the east early in the morning before the sun rises. It is a beautiful thing to do. You should try it one day. You sit under a tree facing the east in pre-dawn, early morning, quite cold, and then the sun rises and shines on you, and you feel the warmth, right? So that's called the east. Of course, when you're meditating, you start with whichever direction you face. You start with that. So it's the Pubba, it's the front direction. It also means east, but of course, in our modern way of talking, it's not always the east. And then the right direction, and so on. You go one round. Now 2.2, thus above, below, in between, everywhere. So here we kind of go further. All right. Now then there is this tricky phrase, and to everyone as well as to oneself equally. All right. Here, some people don't translate this way, but the Pali word is sabbhatatthaya. Okay. So here, if you look at the footnote 132, is all mentioned there. Sabha means all, atta is self, right? So in other words, we send it to everyone as well as ourselves. It makes good sense to translate that way. The commentary also agrees. So this is where when you show loving kindness all around, you must not forget yourself. All right, so the Buddha says, he knows. Okay, let's go a little bit further. 2.3. He dwells pervading the whole world with a mind of loving kindness that is bountiful, grown great. Okay, grown great means you reach jhana, okay? Boundless, without hate, without ill will. So this is the kind of standard phrasing, so always there. He knows formerly my mind was limited and uncultivated, but now my mind is boundless, well cultivated. Okay? My mind is calm, peaceful, and so on. Then the Buddha makes a remarkable statement. The key statement in this sutta: any karma done in a limited way neither remains nor persists here. Okay? Now I'm going to stop here since it's 9 o'clock already, because this is a very important idea, so I'm not going to say more. We will come back. It's like a cliffhanger. Okay? So let's take a short break.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Piya. We will take a 5 minutes break now. And I would like to share a QR code. We would like to receive your truthful.
We have other suttas to help us. So this is where the commentaries can be useful, and much better, of course, if we are aware of other suttas, and then we try to link them up. Okay. All right. So the karma here refers to the karma that we do here in the world that we're living in, the sense world. Now, first of all, you have the three worlds. You have the sense world, the world that we are living in, that is dependent on the 5 physical senses. Then you have the second is the form world. Okay, the form world, they do not depend on the physical senses. It is mind, the vision, brightness, radiance, colors. Right? So this is it's not even the world of the devas, because the devas are sense world, the 6 sense world devas, Tawatingsa and so on. So the devas belong to the sense world. So once we talk about the form world, we talk about Brahmas. So they are kind of more refined beings. Then even the third world is the formless world. So they do not have a kind of form that we understand. So they are, if you like, pure energy. Okay, they're not even light. You don't see them. They're invisible beings. They are mostly deep in meditation. So karma here refers to what we do in this world, as in the sense world, as human beings, for example. So if you practice loving kindness, you attain jhana through loving kindness. This kind of karma will not take effect when there is this good karma which you have cultivated in your loving kindness practice, which reaches the level of jhana, which is very profound, very deep. So meditation does help to prevent bad karma from this kind of karma from ripening. The good karma will take precedence, right? Of course, this is a very interesting statement. We can simplify this by saying that if you practice loving kindness, it's much easier to keep the precepts because you feel happy. Feeling happy is a very important aspect of being a Buddhist. In fact, I often like to remind everyone, if there's one thing the Buddha teaches, one practical thing that early Buddhism teaches, is we have to learn to be happy. We should try to make other people happy. Happy in a positive sense, okay? Not crazy happy, but happy in a positive sense. So they don't worry, they don't have fear. One way of making people happy is to clear them of their greed, hate, delusion, fear, and of course guilt. Conversely, if we are to create lust, hate, delusion, fear in others, that's very bad karma. Okay? So and of course if we build up, we generate this joy in us, we are happy. And when we are happy, we are unlikely to break the precepts. The person who is happy will not break the precepts, generally speaking. Okay? So when you have loving kindness, you are more likely to keep the precepts, and so your karma is going to be good. It's quite logical, quite commonsensical as that, all right? But if you go deeper into your meditation, you do loving kindness practice, and you get into jhana with loving kindness practice, this sutta tells you, you create this really wonderful karma which will bring you happy birth. But there's a catch here. You may be reborn in the Brahma world as a form Brahma or formless Brahma, yes. But if you just perform meritorious deeds, good deeds, and then you're reborn, then when this good karma finishes, you fall from the state. So there are other suttas which warn us, then you go down into the suffering states. It's a snake and ladder game. In fact, snake and ladder is the game invented by the ancient Indians. Among them, the Buddhists have their version of snake and ladder. It's samsara. So the ladder is good karma, you climb up, you are reborn in heavens, and then there comes the snake, bad karma comes, and you swallowed down, you go back to square one. So it goes back and forth. Samsara is like that. How do you stay safe and not fall into the suffering state? By at least becoming a stream winner, by reaching the path. And to reach the path, you must aspire to reach the path in this life. So when you reach the path, whether you are living in the human world or in the heavens, you will not fall below the subhuman states into the asura state or hell being state or the animal state or the preta, hungry ghost state. All right? So that is the one more proviso. You must attain the path. Then when you are reborn as a Brahma, you will not fall, get caught in the snake and then go down to the subhuman states. Alright? Okay, so let's look at the sutta again. So what do you think, Bhikshus? I'm reading 2.5. What do you think, Bhikshus? If a young man from his boyhood onwards were to cultivate the freedom of mind by loving kindness, freedom of mind by loving kindness is another word for loving kindness on the jhana level, would he then do a bad deed? Certainly not, Bhante, the monks replied. So what the Buddha is saying, if a young person has been meditating or is mindful since childhood, he's not likely to break the precepts. Right? So here you are, this statement about loving kindness. And of course, if the person is truly happy in the jhana sense, he wouldn't break the precepts. 2.6, and not doing any bad deed, would suffering touch him? Certainly not, Bhante. How could suffering touch one who does no bad deed? Indeed, Bhikshus, the freedom of mind by loving kindness should be cultivated by a woman or man. Whether you are a woman or a man, you cannot take this body along when you depart from this world. Bhikshus, this mortal life is but an in-between state of consciousness. Okay, this is a really powerful statement here. This is the most powerful statement in the sutta, if you like. So the Buddha says, you cannot take this body along with you. So you can call it my body, but it remains behind. Only the mind or this karma moves on with us, if you like, the karmic genes, in manner of speaking. But what does this statement in 2.8, what does this mean? This mortal life is but an in-between state of consciousness. It's like, there's always something changing. You cannot point your finger and say, that's it. There's no it, okay? The moment you put your finger there, there is this new mind. Even right now, as you're listening to me, you notice your mind is moving. And we are changing all the time, in that sense. We are mind moments. And this gives us this opportunity to change, to become a better person, in other words. So whatever thoughts that arise, we say they will pass, they move on. And this applies even to us, right now, what we are. We are this changing all the time. We are an in-between state of consciousness. We are moments of consciousness, one after another, one after another. So we want it to be wholesome, in other words. Another way to imagine it in a more palpable way, you know, those old days, they have these movie strips, right? When you, before the digital days, you have this celluloid tape. And if you look at the strip of movie film, you have thousands of little squares. And each one with just a little slight change in movement. So our mind is like that, you know, all the time there's one little square changing. And you know, this movie is being projected onto this wall or screen, and we see, oh, you know, our favorite actor or actress acting, things are moving, and then we see all these stories, and we make up ideas in our mind, we cry, we laugh with these colors and picture on the wall. And nothing is happening here. The reality is there's nothing moving on the wall. It's just a single frames. They're moving at a certain rate. The scientists will tell you how many frames per second. And it gives us the illusion of movement. So this is where we can say moving yet not moving. Eh? So that's another example of this. The profundity of this statement is just an in-between state of consciousness. Each frame is just a frame in between other frames. That's the meaning here. There's so many other frames. You just take one frame is meaningless. You got to see all the other frames moving, everything changing. Then it becomes more meaningful, especially when you reach nirvana. All right? So it's something like that to reflect on. 2.9. He knows thus, whatever bad deed I've done before with this deed-born body, their result will be experienced here and it will not follow me. So if you've done something bad, it will affect us here, but it will not follow into the next life, future life, and so on. Alright? So this is the benefit of loving kindness. And the Buddha goes on to say, 2.10, loving kindness cultivated in such a way will lead to the state of non-returning. In the case of a monk who is established in the wisdom found here in this teaching, who has not attained to higher freedom. Okay, this one needs explanation, right? Now, sometimes you hear teachers say, oh, don't do loving kindness, you know, the Buddha didn't teach it. It's not true. When you look at this sutta, it's so clear the Buddha is talking so much about loving kindness. Here, the Buddha even says that if you practice loving kindness, you can attain non-returning. Wow, this is just before arahathood, you know. How does this happen? If you practice loving kindness to the level of jhana, Why? Because then this jhana removes lust. It removes sensuality dependence. We are not attracted to sensuality of the body anymore. Because once you have tasted the joy of the jhanas, this trans-corporeal, this beyond the body joy, you no more enjoy physical pleasure because they become gross. It's just like you've eaten something really nice. You don't want to eat something which is not nice. I mean, just like, remember the story of this cat bringing me a rat. This my wonderful cat that loves me so much brought me a rat one day, and I said, no thanks, I can't take a rat, because humans don't eat rats anyway. So devas do not take the offerings. We offer them because devas say, oh no, we don't take human offering. You're yucky, They wouldn't come within this a few hundred yojanas of humans because we smell. Even though we may use perfume, we still smell. And these divine beings, they kind of take this very refined food called oja, ambrosia, right? So once the meditator, here among means meditator, he attains this jhanas and he keeps to the precepts and so on, then he is able to overcome all this worldliness, sensuality, breaking the 5 lower precepts, effectively removing sensuality. Then he attains non-returning. That's the meaning here. Okay? Then compassion, everything here repeats itself. Section 3, he dwells pervading 1 quarter with a mind of compassion, likewise the 2nd quarter, the 3rd quarter, the 4th quarter. And then he shows loving kindness to everyone as well as to himself, right? Everything repeats, so I don't have to go through that. What I need to say here is, how do you go from loving kindness to compassion? You have to cultivate loving kindness first. This is the most important practice. In fact, most people cultivate only loving kindness. But once you do your loving kindness well, it's how you direct it that makes it become compassion, if you like. Loving kindness is where there are no special issues to deal with. You say, may I be well and happy, may everyone else be well and happy. But then there are cases where people are actually suffering. People get sick, and you think of some lonely old people, or you think of people who have lost loved ones through COVID and so on. Then you feel a sense of compassion. You are moved by the pain of others. When others are unfortunate to go through difficulties, you are moved to action. What is it moves you to action? Your loving kindness. Your loving kindness moves you. So when you are moved to action, that is compassion. That is karuna. Okay? Your loving kindness in action. So you say, may these people be free of this suffering. May they be happy. And not only that, outside of your meditation, you are moved to action. Right? So that's compassion. Now the next one is joy. Okay? Cultivation of gladness or joy. Okay? So here again, gladness or joy, you find that the template is the same. Right? He dwells pervading 1 quarter with a mind of gladness or joy, mudita. Likewise the 2nd quarter, the 3rd quarter, the 4th quarter, to everyone and to himself. So here is where, let's say you help this unfortunate person and the help was successful, this person is free from suffering, and this person is very happy and smiling, and you look at this person and in your meditation you recall this, and there is a smile on your face too. You say, wow, this is good. This person is happy. I'm very happy that this person is happy. This is put into words. But it becomes a meditation subject in the mudita bhavana. Okay? You rejoice in the happiness of others. You're happy when others are happy. Alright? And of course, you bring that to jhana level also. You've got very deep, powerful joy. Right? Now comes the most difficult one, the 4th Brahmavihara, the equanimity. Here again, the template is the same. He dwells pervading one quarter with the mind of equanimity, the second quarter, likewise the third quarter, likewise the fourth quarter, and then above, below, in between, and everywhere, to everyone as well as to himself. So here is where, let's say you are full of loving kindness, you try to help people, but you find, wow, look at COVID, there's so thousands and thousands of people are infected, so many people are dying, and the politicians are not helping, and you feel so, you can't feel sad about this, because this is the nature of the world. So if you are a true practitioner, you neither rejoice nor do you feel devastated. You look on calmly like a mirror reflecting reality. You say, this is the nature of samsara. The Buddha has been telling us about this again and again. This is the nature of karma. People fare according to their karma. People have to face their karma. So it's not something good to say, but I've done my best. So you don't blame yourself. You don't blame others. You see this as the nature of life, as it is. Right? So you see the situation as it is. Then of course you want to go back to your practice of loving kindness. Right? So they kind of work like that in 4 ways. Sometimes these are called the qualities of a leader. Right? The leader must have loving kindness. He wants all his workers to be well and happy, and is kind to them, especially when they are in difficulties. And when they do well, he's happy for them. But sometimes, they may fall short. They may not give what we want. So we say, it's okay. You've done your best. So we accept them as they are. We don't blame them in any way. So they're also called the qualities, the true qualities of a good leader. So these are the 4 Brahmaviharas. Okay, we can talk a lot about the 4, but this should be enough, right? Okay, so now we come to the end. In fact, the end is quite abrupt. This is one of those signs that something's missing here. You find 5.10, equanimity cultivated in such way will lead to the state of non-returning. Of course, this applies to all the previous 3 Brahmaviharas also. In the case of a monk who is established in the wisdom found here in this teaching and who has not attained to higher freedom, right? And the sutta ends there like that, right? So we are fortunate at least to have this remnant with us. The Buddha showing how the 4 Brahmaviharas are important to us. It can help us attain stream winning. Not arahathood, but not stream winning, non-returning. Not arahathood, but non-returning. Okay, I will stop here and invite questions.
Thank you very much, Brother Piya, for explaining the suttas. Now we open for question and answer session. Please feel free to ask questions by raising your hand, or you can type in the chat box. I will pass the session to Brother Lucky to handle the question.
Thank you, Sister Wendy.
Thank you.
For brothers and sisters, if you have any questions, as mentioned by Sister Wendy, could you kindly put your questions into the chat box so I can help you to read it out for everyone to hear and for Brother Piya to answer your question. Thank you.
At the moment, there are no questions yet.
No, not yet. Yeah.
Brother Piya?
Yes.
Should we go back to the...
Sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a new question coming. Okay.
Oh, there's a question, Brother Piya. Question from HK Go. Question is, Brother Piya, may I... Why practice of the Abodes can lead only to non-returning and not arahanthood? Thank you.
Here the Buddha is explaining it as it is practiced in this way. Because in the case of arahathood, you have to overcome even any kind of views, any kind of attachment to views. Okay, so you can say when it comes to the Brahmaviharas, it doesn't help us to remove ideas of self. There is still that idea of self, subtle idea. Okay, so this is where only when we let go of all views, then you can attain arahathood. So, but in a manner of speaking, when you do, let's say, any of the Brahmaviharas, then you come out of it, you use the calmness and the clarity of mind to reflect on impermanence, to reflect on suffering, and you see them as non-self. But this is a new cultivation, of course. And you go on doing that, then you get into jhana again, okay? And that will bring you arahathood. Because you need to clear the mind totally of all views. Then only arahathood can be attained. So this is one of the problems with what we have been reading in the sutta accounts. For example, the Buddha went to the two teachers in the Arya Pariyasana Sutta, and he learned all those really powerful meditation right up to the highest formless realm. But even at that level, even beyond the four Brahmaviharas, those early teachers, pre-Buddhist teachers, they had this idea there is some kind of permanent being, some kind of soul, some kind of essence. And that prevented them from letting go of that view. And that view is the block from them attaining nirvana, if you like. So the arahat clears away all views, including view of even there is this self, enjoying metta, and enjoying joy itself. Okay? So in other words, letting go of the idea of self. So that can only be done on a higher level, like breath meditation. Okay?
There is a question here from Noel Lim. Is equanimity built on loving kindness, or do you see them like twins that go hand in hand?
Equanimity and loving kindness, they're progressive. Okay? Equanimity is the last stage. Loving kindness is a kind of outward attitude towards others. We want others to be happy just as we are happy. Whereas equanimity is more onlooking. Okay? We accept things as they are. So it's the most difficult of the four Divine Abodes to cultivate. You are calm when things don't work out. You have loving kindness still. Remember, loving kindness is at the foundation of all this practice. Okay? When loving kindness is shown to others, even when they do not deserve it, they are suffering, that is compassion. When we rejoice in the happiness and goodness of others, it's called gladness, mudita. But when things don't work out, despite all our good efforts, we can't help everybody. We remain calm. We don't feel negative. So that is equanimity. So it's different in a sense. It's different from loving kindness, but it is rooted in loving kindness. You must have loving kindness in order to be equanimous. Right? It's like a good doctor. This doctor heals, the patient is very happy. But if the patient dies, of course, in the case of a good doctor, normally they'll feel quite sad, But a very practical doctor will have understand, investigate why, and then he's kind of stand back and say, okay, I know why this person has died. Okay? Something like that. All right, let's go on.
There is another question here from Cindy. Brother Piya, doctor said my dad has dementia. Should I tell him or not? Thank you.
Okay, there's a rule about such questions. We can't give advice to you when it comes to something like this. But we can give you some guidelines as best we can do. But I think the first thing is you got to keep on looking at him with loving kindness so that you are always there to support him. And then you talk to him in such a way that you make him feel comfortable, that you are willing to listen to him no matter what he says, or you will accept him no matter what he is, something like that. You have to say this in such a way that you're not hinting to him that he's having dementia, unless he suspects it. Okay, so he may suspect. He says, "Okay, I want you to tell me the truth." Okay, or what if he says like that? Then of course you are in a better position to, you know, that he's ready. But even then, you got to reassure him. You say, you know, as we age, these are things that happen. But we can do something about it, all right? We will try our best to do something about it. So basically, you should comfort him in that way. Telling a person has dementia is not very helpful, but to be able to be there as a support and knowing what to do and helping this person along to have a hold on reality, because in dementia they lose touch of reality, you know. So if you can do that, that would be helpful. So you don't need to tell him unless he asks or he already knows, but you must know what to do. Okay, sometimes not telling a person he is sick is better, but to help the person get healed, okay, it's much better. Sometimes people may not be able to handle certain things to tell them, right? So you have to figure out all this. So basically, be ready, available, and wise, knowing what to do to help your father. That is truly noble, truly wonderful, being there. And I can tell you, as I age, it is always wonderful to have someone nearby telling you, how can I help you? And sometimes this person may feel a little pride and say, oh, I don't really need you, but they actually still need you. And you be there. Because you know, one thing the doctors always ask you when you go to the hospital at my age, have you ever had a fall? They keep asking me that, you know. So that reminds me, never ever fall, you know, so always be careful not to fall. Because it's not good at our age to fall. So you have to kind of like give them that comfort, that strength, remind them, make the house safe. You know, we have something called make the house child safe, you know. You have to make the house old people safe also. So these are things you can do. And so I think it's a very noble, wonderful thing you can do for your father at this time. It is a forgotten art. People are forgetting. They are old folks, and the old folks are becoming lonely, and they will end up like that also when our turn comes, which is not good, right? So there should be this kind of movement, this kind of Buddhist action, you know, where old people, where everyone, we also give our attention to old people. Not telling them, hey, you're old, that's why we're helping you. It's just being there, being nice, friendly to them, and make them happy, you know. So think about what you can do in this direction. That'd be really wonderful. And the fact that you ask this question means you can. You know, that's really very heartwarming to know. All right, let's go on.
The next question from David C. Can Brother Piya please elaborate more on dhyana, jhana, make karma, as attaining jhana does not come easily for most of us who does not do intense and continuous meditation. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, jhana is especially for renunciants. That's what being a monk is. The idea is for you to be able to sit long, don't worry about things of the world, and then get focused into jhana. Of course, as a layman, even as a child, the sutta tells us that lay people can attain jhana if they really come to have the right conditions. Now, if you are not able to attain jhana, mindfulness is very important. Even simple samadhi, where you feel the sense of calmness, and you can free your mind of unhappy thoughts, and you can focus on reading sutta, for example, for 5 minutes. Okay, you have some kind of mindfulness, and go on building that up. You know, the Buddha is very compassionate, very encouraging of us. He says if you can practice loving kindness, you can, even if you can reflect the impermanence, for just a moment it takes to milk a cow. You just pull the cow's udder and then milk comes out. In other words, sometimes it says a snap of a finger. You can do just that much. You have practiced my teaching. Because from one thought comes other thoughts. Remember the statement in the sutta, our life is but an in-between state. So that is the in-between state when you meditate, that one moment. And that is precious. So even right now, the fact that you spend your time here sitting patiently, listening to the sutta, some parts are difficult to follow, some parts are really inspiring. Remember the inspiring parts, and that will help you. Sometimes I talk things people don't understand. Sometimes I say the wrong things myself. But there are those parts which are really good, and that's the part you should store inside you. Remember it, and that is the seed you used for your happiness. And when you build up this happiness, more and more happiness, then you can meditate better. One day, at the right time, who knows, even as a layman, you can attain jhana. But even without jhana, you keep your precepts well, then you aspire, you say, I want to attain stream winning in this life itself. And you read the sutta to understand what this means. And then you reflect on impermanence regularly. Whatever happens, you see the impermanence of it. You're not shocked by it, you're not terrified by it. And this attitude will build up over time. And the older you grow, the better this understanding comes to you, the nature of impermanence. And by then, your understanding of stream winning also will be clearer. And then you find, even without jhana, you can still attain stream winning in this life itself. If you read Anicca Cakkha Sutta, S25.1, or you can read 21.1, 0.2, and 2.10, the 10 suttas in that chapter, which tell the same thing. So the Buddha says, do this, reflect on impermanence, and you feel this sense of calm and joy, and in this life itself you attain stream winning, even without jhana. So it's a very comforting teaching found in the Samyutta Nikaya. Okay, let's go on.
Okay, Brother Piya, the next question from Danny Teo. Does a being who attains arahanthood stops creating karma?
I would say yes. From my understanding of the suttas, yes, they stop creating new karma, but old karma does come back at the right time. Okay. For example, we'll be studying the Angulimala Sutta again next year. You find, although Angulimala became an arahat, some people were still upset with him, remember some of his past karma, and they hurt him. So the Buddha told him, that's your old karma. Okay, just let it go. Of course, I mean, Angulimala already knows that too, but the Buddha said those things for our benefit. So even the Buddha, sometimes some past karma comes by, like a terrible headache. Someone even compiled a list of stories of all the Buddha's past bad karma long ago. It's a collection, something called the rags of his past karma or something like that, in the Apadana. They're late stories, but it shows that long ago he did some bad karma, and so even now sometimes the headache comes back. But then the reason the headache came is also the reason is given. The Buddha stood in the hot sun trying to prevent the Koliyas and the Sakyas from fighting one another, so because of standing in the hot sun, and with a bald head, you get a headache too, you see. So then people tell stories, the Buddha had a headache because of his past karma. So yes, past karma do act even on arahats, but they don't create new karma. Okay, let's go on.
Okay, Brother Piya, the next question is from Grace Lim. The cultivating of the 4 Brahma Viharas, the only way to suppress bad karmas?
It's one of the better ways, but not the... It's hard to say whether it's best or not. Yeah, of course, if you're a good meditator, you're happy, it's very likely you will never break the precepts, and not breaking the precepts, you won't create bad karma. Karma is intention. So the best thing you should have, of course, is wisdom. It is wisdom that examines, okay, what kind of thought do I have? How good, how bad is this thought? If it's bad, I should not have it. Right? So this is where you should read the Ambalatika Rahula Sutta, where the Buddha teaches Rahula, young Rahula, how to observe his mind and notice those negative intentions, and make sure they don't act themselves out, basically. So wisdom is the best antidote to bad karma. Okay. Of course, if you have a good meditation, that further helps you. You know, some people have written questions. If you find that you have typed your question and they have not yet asked, you can put up your hand and ask the person in charge. Then, okay, let's go on, please.
Okay, Brother Piya, there are two questions here from S.T. Lee. The first question is, can you explain what is karma done in a limited way?
Oh.
And the second question is, you mentioned that one can cultivate compassion by translating loving kindness into action. What happens when positive compassion is not possible, as in the COVID situation, when you feel empathic about the tremendous suffering, but you can't do much to relieve the pain and suffering? Thank you.
Okay. The first question about karma, that term refers to, as I mentioned earlier, karma in a limited way refers to whatever karma we have done in this sense world as a human being, basically. So this kind of karma will not follow us. In other words, it will not bring us rebirth in the subhuman state. Okay, we won't be reborn as an animal, hell being, or preta. That's the meaning. Okay, one way of putting it. Because some of this karma, they will come back. They will keep coming back. You know, because once you fall into the subhuman state, it's quite difficult. So one way to prevent that is to do lots of metta meditation, so that we attain that state of peace and joy. Okay, joy and peace, they kind of go together usually. And once you have that joy and peace, you find you are not likely to create bad karma, and bad karma also not likely to take fruit. All right. Notice when you're angry, lots of bad things happen. It doesn't rain but pours, as we say. So getting angry is a very dangerous, very negative, very unhelpful emotion. Right. So that's why being joyful, loving kindness is a very powerful way of preventing bad karma from arising. Remember, I like to simplify it. Be happy. It's easier to keep the precepts that way. Then the next part is about quite a difficult question, right, to answer. We look at COVID, there's so many people suffering. We can't do much because even if we are experts, you find it's not easy to read. There are powerful politicians who think otherwise, and that's really messy. So you look at the whole picture and tell yourself, wow, what is COVID trying to teach us? COVID is so powerful. It has brought the whole world down to its knees. Even those big businesses have to obey, have to listen. Everybody has to listen. Everyone has to, in some way, practice social distancing. They have to stop certain things, stop doing certain things, right? So we're telling ourselves, this is the nature of life. There are certain things which are even more powerful than all the dreams we try to have. Right? So what is it that is really important to me right now? What is it that is of value to me? What do I think life is about? Right? For me, I would say we must learn to care about people who are nearest to us. How do they feel? Are they okay? Are they feeling all right? Because after a while, being cooped up, even working from home, you begin to feel losing connection with society is a terrible thing, you know. So you want to connect with people. And even with one-to-one connection, talking with a person, even with a mask on, it still helps. So this idea of human communication is very important in moments like this. So we may not be able to do big things, even sometimes, show the Buddha's teaching. Yeah, but that's one thing we can do through Zoom. This is the amazing thing. You are safe from COVID at least, so to speak, through Zoom. So we are doing something here. So think of ways of how to reach out to those people, how to make them happy despite COVID. So it's a challenge COVID is giving us as Buddhists. How can we bring this humanity out of ourselves and bring the humanity out of others also in this very inhuman moment? Remember, we are born human, and the Dhammapada says, Kicho manusa patilabo. It's difficult to attain the state of man or human state. I don't think it means it's difficult to be born as a human being. I mean, people say, look, there's so many human beings. If you look at the commentary says manusatta. Manusatta means humanity, humanness. So you can translate this Dhammapada verse as meaning it is difficult to attain the state of humanity. It is easy to be a human, A baby is born as a human, but a baby doesn't become human. The parents, by their love and their contact, make this young child within the first 7 years a human. It gives humanity to this child through love, right? So many of us have a human body, we don't have a human heart yet. So we have to do our best to bring out this human heart from others. Warm them up so that they become not only human in body, but human in heart, human in mind too. Okay? Human in mind is wisdom, human at heart is compassion. So you need both. So this is your chance during this difficult period to practice this really difficult aspect of the Buddha Dharma. Okay, let's go on. Next question.
Thank you very much, Brother Piya. I think we do not have time anymore for next question. Thank you, Brother Lucky. And we will have to end the session now. And before we end, I would like to remind participants from Singapore to kindly stay back after the end of the session. We will have to have a short discussion with you. And also please remember to give your feedback to us via the Google form on how you feel about our lesson. Okay, thank you very much. We will have the closing puja now.
Right, okay. So we have come to the end of today's study, and it's a time for us to reflect on this wonderful moment. We've spent the last 2 hours. You have made some sacrifices of time, especially. You've given yourself time to spend with the Dhamma, with yourself in fact. We began by reflecting, by paying homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and then we recited the precepts. Now all these are very wonderful things for you to remember. You have been keeping the precepts during this session. Remember this wonderful event. It will help you when you meditate that you have kept the precepts intact all the time. So reflecting in this way, may we be well and happy. May our minds be calm and clear. May through our joy we bring joy to others in these difficult moments. And also through this joy, may they cultivate wisdom, which will teach them the right things to do in life to be happy and to make this a happy world. So with that thought in mind, let us close with the closing salutations. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Bow down. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Bow down. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Bow down. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.